Wow, hello everybody, welcome to Jumping in an Elevator, episode 2, titled She's Zooming Dude. Many things to get out of the way to start with. First of all, it may sound like I'm recording this in a storm, and that is true. I am recording this in a storm. There are 80-kilometer winds happening outside, and the split second I hit record on the camera, I heard some kind of can rolling down the street. Just really adds to the ambience. And one of the great things about a green screen is I could be recording this in a little sea shack, and I could be singing a little sea shanty, and you'd be none the wiser. You might be thinking he might have lost the plot. He could have decided to move to the cliffs of Dover. Is that what they're called? And maybe I'm there. You don't know. Am I still in Australia? I definitely am because I can't leave. Ha 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 ha. I'm Mike. I'm your host with the most, your heast with the least. And I feel like it's going to be a thing that I start these by describing what I'm wearing, just in case you're not watching this and you can really just imagine that we're just having a chat about all kinds of things, okay? So for today, I'm wearing outfit number 2. So I think I have 4 or 5 outfits with me in Perth because I really did not expect to be here for 3.5 months. So outfit 2 is my Brockhampton merch hoodie, some red track pants, my sneakers, and just whatever shirt I can find underneath. Today we're wearing a yellow number from Uniqlo. Shout out to Uniqlo, big fans Uniqlo. And then up top, I'm wearing the hood up with headphones over the top because I can't hear a single thing, which is so nice. It's so nice to not hear the storm and just be like, if I can't hear it, it's not happening. Because that's how things work, right? If I can't see it, if I can't hear it, it's just not occurring. Also, something that happened today, as I was getting ready to do this, I wrote all my notes and everything, and then I put a little bit of lip balm on because my lips have been so chapped in the last 24 hours, and I don't understand why. I've had so much water. I think I had 3 liters of water today, which is bridging on drowning territory. Anyway, so I had chapped lips, put this thing on, and my friend Ellie got me this chapstick in Melbourne. Shout out to Ellie. She's a fantastic developer, by the way. She deserves a promotion, just if anyone's listening and they have power to do that. Give Ellie a promotion. Anyway, so I worked out that chapstick is actually lipstick. So I've been wearing peach lipstick for all my videos for the last however long. So if you're looking at the videos and you're thinking, wow, his lips look so good, it's because I'm wearing Nivea peach lipstick. I should have brought it so I could show everyone. Also, last time I got extremely parched while recording. So today I have a little glass of water, and when I got the glass of water, I was looking for a paper straw and I found a metal straw. There's some ASMR for you. How fantastic. And ready? Let me just take a sip. Wow, I've never felt better. Actually, that's a lie. I have felt better. My migraines are just through the roof. I would love to know why. Is it the changing of the seasons? Is Mercury in retrograde, as my friend Hannah said? She meant to say retrograde and said retrograde, unless she said retrograde on purpose because she knew I was talking about migraines, which would have been pretty cool and very informed of her. So congratulations, Hannah, for that. Also, I think I've realized I have some kind of issue with light sensitivity because I just can't handle bright lights. Flashing, lights. I just can't do it at all. And I got blue light glasses to handle the screens because I spend a ridiculous amount of time in front of screens every day, 16 hours. That's unhealthy working schedules. But then when I went to a concert back in the time when you could go to concerts, I was at a Rich Brian concert with my sister and there were flashing lights and I literally nearly fainted because I felt so sick. So if anyone is a brain person, the brain personnel listening or watching this, can you please let me know what the hell is wrong with my head? Tar love. We need to talk about what happened with that last episode. I am so blown away by the response. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast and supporting me. I made that channel, the second channel, and I was like, okay, maybe I can get 3,000 or 4,000 people to subscribe. Hello to the 15,000 that are watching this. And then in terms of listening, it had over 10,000 listens on all the platforms. And I was like, what the hell? That's so insane. And we were did charting, Miss Ma'am. I got an email and I was like, hi, we're from, I think it was Chartable. Your podcast is charting. And I thought this must be a joke because how did they even get my email, right? But then how did they get my email? I don't know. But anyway, I looked at the charts and the podcast was charting like 60 countries. Excuse me? I'm just talking shit. Today's episode has a theme, and so the title was She's Zoomin' Dude. And if you frequent my YouTube channel, you would know that She's Zoomin' Dude is a reference to Abby Lee Miller from the Dance Mums cinematic universe. And it's a clip where she's at a recital and she's on her phone, and then one of the rival mums says, "You teach theatre etiquette to our kids, put your phone away." And then Abby's like, acting all shocked. And then she rolls her mobility scooter backwards up the aisle. And then someone's like, "Abby, where are you going?" And she's like, "I don't know, Baskin Robbins maybe?" And there's a clip of her zooming down the street towards Baskin Robbins. And the producer and the cameraman are like recording her. And the cameraman's like, "She's zooming, dude." So actually, that's a pretty good recounting of the events, I would say. If you were to go and watch that clip, I think the events are definitely correct, and maybe even the dialogue's correct too. So I just kind of popped off there. Anyway, so She's Zoomin' Dude. In terms of science, right? These are the questions that we've got today. How do planes fly? This one comes from Erin. Then, why did Abby Lee Miller go to jail? Because I totally forgot that happened. And then I just saw a headline or something about Abby Lee Miller, and I was like, didn't she go to jail? She did go to jail, but we'll get to that. I had How Does Wi-Fi Work on this episode, but I think I'm going to move that to a later episode because I wanted to replace it with flies in cars. What happens with flies in cars? What's the deal with that? Are the flies just zooming, dude? We're going to find out. And how does the YouTube algorithm work? I know that one doesn't really fit the zoom in thing, but at the same time, I've made videos about Dance Mums, and those videos did well. Why did they do well? Well, why don't we do a little investigation into deep neural networks and work out how the YouTube algorithm works? I think it's quite topical. When is it not topical, to be honest? People are always talking about the algorithm, blaming the algorithm, praising the algorithm. And it's like, what do you people think the algorithm is? Do you think YouTube has some kind of ultra advanced Jarvis Iron Man AI just in their headquarters, just doing all this shit for them? It's one of those things where movies and TV have skewed people's perception of what technology is actually feasible, that people think the most outlandish shit. And then when you find out what it actually is, it's almost disappointing. And like when you see people whinging about the YouTube algorithm and how they've been blacklisted or blah, 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 blah. It's like, why would YouTube want to blacklist people on their platform that bring the views and therefore the monetized views and therefore the money? It just doth not make sense to me. And then after we talk about the algorithm and deep neural networks, we're going to chat some shit, essentially, and that will allow me to lead into the next episode, and that will be the topic of questions. So the plan is all these questions are centering around the title, and then I will suggest the next topic, and you will give me questions about that, and that's how we'll roll on. So that way we can control the scope of the questions, and there's some kind of theme that helps me title these episodes and categorize them and all that yaz. Just a quick update in terms of my life apart from the bright light situation, because I feel like you don't really know what I do. Like, I feel like I just make videos, like do software engineering shit, right? I just missed my finger. That was embarrassing. And have a master's degree. That's literally it. Like, what else do I do? The truth is I don't really do much. But at the same time, I do quite a bit of stuff, right? At the moment, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm level 11, and the next main campaign mission is, like, you need to be level 15, and that just makes me so angry. I don't want to grind, right? I grind enough as it is. I've hustled hard on YouTube, right? So many hours into that. I work so many hours into that. I don't want to spend so many hours doing little side quests. Go collect my slave so you get 500 XP. Thanks, Mr. Slave Owner. That gives me like 1/100th of the thing that I need to get from 11 to 12. Now I need to do that 5 more times to get to level 15 just so I can go to Athens. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I can't wait till that new Spider-Man game comes out. I loved Spider-Man 1 on PS4. Just the whole concept of Spider-Man is fantastic. I wish I was Spider-Man. Tom Holland is a really good Spider-Man. But Spider-Man. But then also, so was Andrew Garfield. And Emma Stone was really good as... Okay, see, my brain, we've gone down the track of no return and my brain is refusing to get the name. My brain's just saying her name's Lucy Liu. I know the character's name is not Lucy Liu. I know Lucy Liu is an actress. She's a great actress. Make sure you go and stream Charlie's Angels. Not the new one, the old one. And also, she's the only good thing about Quentin Tarantino movies. Or movie, because she was only in one. She cut someone's head off. Very cool. Thanks, Lucy Liu. All right, so let's get stuck into these questions. I need to really just concentrate. So, how do planes work? This question came from Erin, and this is what Erin actually messaged me verbatim. She said, how the fuck can planes fly? Full stop. Like, question mark, question mark, question mark. They're giant fucking buses soaring through the sky. Like, excuse me, this is not little Einstein. It makes no sense. So, I've got a couple of tabs. I've got one from NASA and I've got How Stuff Works, which is a great website. Oh, every time I see one of those TikToks and it's like, how does CDs work? Oh my God. It's like, just Google it. It's like literally the first link will be how do DVDs work. And it's easy to understand because they tell it in different levels. Oh, people act like there's some kind of barrier to knowledge. Yes, there are for some things, but Google is free. How good is that? Anyway, that sounds kind of facetious. I'm going to cut the attitude, cut your losses and move on. So, when you're in a plane, let's say you're going from Australia. No, actually, let's say you're going from Rome to Split. Because, as we know, if you listened, did I mention it on the last episode? Or is it my YouTube channel? Honestly, I can't tell what's what. I don't know when everything happened. But all I know is in 2015, my plane nearly crashed because they missed the runway. It was just a whole thing. Very fun. I also had food poisoning. But that was just like a whole vibe that was happening. And let's just say you're going from Rome to Split. There are 4 floors on your flight. You have lift, drag, weight, and thrust. So lift is not the drink. Well, it is a drink, but we're talking about lift as in like she's going upwards. Then drag is what pushes you backwards. It's also a fantastic art form, but that's not the same drag that we're talking about right now. So a good example of drag is if you're in your vehicle or on a motorbike, which is dangerous. I wanted a motorbike and my parents were like, you're an idiot, don't get a motorbike. And then I was like, I want to get a Tesla. And then I realized how much Teslas cost. And I was like, wow, those YouTubers are making so much money. So good for them. But also, I still want a Tesla. I just can't afford it yet. Anyway, weight is what is pulling you down. Weight is a force. So I guess that's one of the things that might not be immediately obvious if you haven't studied physics before, that weight and mass are 2 different things. Mass is... It seems like they're the same thing. How do I explain this? Weight is the force. Mass is the number, I guess. But they're used interchangeably, but they're not really interchangeable. Then thrust is what pushes you forward. Just the word thrust, hate it. Hate that word. Reminds me of Mr. Schuster. Because I have some kind of image of him thrusting to a Britney Spears song in Glee Season 1. I'm pretty sure that happened. Disgusting. Oh, God. Yeah, so that's thrust. And then how those things interact is how the plane be moving, right? Planes are so cool. Can someone, we're going to do another episode about space. We'll do tons of episodes about space and airplanes and all that kind of shit because this stuff is what I love And it's what I loved about my engineering degree. All these things that you take for granted, and then once you start thinking about it, you're like, what the fuck? I'm in a tin can in the sky. Well, it's not tin, but you know what I mean. And I really wanted to work for NASA when I graduated from uni, NASA and SpaceX and all that jazz. And then I realized I couldn't because I'm not a US citizen, because they categorize space travel and research as weapons. So you have to be an American citizen to work on weapons. And I was so crushed, right? And then I was like, I can just apply for that stuff in Australia. And the thing is, there isn't really anything like that in Australia, not yet. I think there will be in the future, but am I going to be the right age to be doing an entry-level aerospace engineering job in Australia for the Australian Space Agency when I'm 45? Like, isn't that just so depressing? So Elon, if you're listening to this, can you just work out something to get me to work for SpaceX? That'd be fantastic. I'm qualified. And don't you forget it. So let's move over to this how stuff works and also explainthatstuff.com. I guess one of the crucial things about how planes fly is to do with the wings. You would think it's to do with the engine. The engine is important because you need to build up speed, right? You can't just, the plane's just not stationary on the tarmac, then it goes whoop, and then without an engine. There are things that can fly without an engine. If you think of a paper plane, she don't got an engine. My mommy don't got a car. But a paper plane still flies, right? And that's because of how the air moves over the structure and the wings. And if you think about a paper plane, there's that shape, right? And you know from the start, even you learn this in like first grade or whatever it is, that the point at the front needs to be smaller than the back because the air needs to flow over the structure, if that makes sense. So here's a quote from this Explain That Stuff website. It says, if you're trying to understand how planes fly, you need to know the difference between the engines and the wings and the jobs they do. A plane's engines are designed to move it forward at high speed. That makes air flow rapidly over the wings, which throws the air down towards the ground, generating an upwards force called lift that overcomes the plane's weight and holds it in the sky. So basically, you want the plane to go fast to cut the air, and the air pushes down and the plane pushes up, and that's lift. That's Fanta. That's right. That's Dr. Pepper. I've never had Dr. Pepper, but I've had Dr. Pepper flavored gum, and it tasted like cinnamon and medicine. And I was that bitch who loves the taste of medicine. Like when I got a cough, I was like, haha, time for that medicine. Give me that Duratus, that Robitussin, because it like medicine tasted good. The people who were like medicine didn't taste good. I'm like, you clearly never had a cherry lollipop or cherry flavored anything, because cherry stuff tastes like medicine. What came first, the cherry or the medicine? You know what? Cherry doesn't even taste like cherry. It tastes like medicine. It's a ploy by big medicine, big pharma, to make me take my medicine. They make it taste like cherry lollipops. Or maybe big medicine started the cherry flavor. Haha, Willy Wonka. I know that bitch was involved somehow. Willy Wonka was running some kind of like thing. With that haircut and those goggles and that face. Oh, sorry, I don't want to judge, but sometimes I do have to judge. Anyway, okay, so how do wings make lift? In one sentence, wings make lift by changing the direction and pressure of the air that crashes into them as the engine shoots them through the sky. Yes, shoot your shot, Miss Wing. Miss Thing? Miss Wing. Miss Wing. Yes, Miss Wing. Actually, that reminds me of some TikTok that I saw, and it was like, YouTubers be like, and it's like a clip of all the editing that YouTubers do, and it was framed in a negative light, and I was like, okay, I mean, you can laugh, but at the end of the day, if people enjoy watching the content, what's so bad about that? Lord. Oh, someone's probably going to get mad about that. Oh, well. So, let's imagine you're a wing, not a chicken wing. Chicken tenders from KFC are $10 at the moment. It's 10 tenders for $10, but it's only on the app, and it's like a secret thing, right? You scroll up like 10 times or for 10 seconds or whatever it is, and the secret menu appears on the KFC app, and It's 10 tenders for $10. That's so cheap. Usually it's like 3 tenders for $9 or $10. So if you're Australian, go and check that out. Also, shout out to Rachel from KFC who recognised me in the drive-thru at the start of quarantine when I was looking good. So that wasn't even that bad. But if she saw me now, she'd be like, "Oh my god, you need to go back to Melbourne and you need to clean your act up. Too dirty to clean my act up." So if you have your wing and then you have the air splits at the front of the wing and it goes over the top and the bottom. The air pressure at the top is reduced and the air pressure is increased underneath. And that difference in air pressure helps propel the plane upwards. Again, this is probably best explained by doing your own research. That's one of the things that I want to make clear about this podcast is I do not know everything. I know lots of stuff, but I can't possibly know everything. So there might be a gap here, or you might be like, that's not entirely true. I am a propulsion engineer and you are wrong. And you're also ugly. And you also just picked a pimple between your eyes before recording. To which I would say that's correct. All of that is correct. But you're also welcome to do your own research. There's nothing wrong with that. So there's a whole bunch of other shit to do with helicopters and all that. Helicopters are lit. Helicopters are so sick. Even though, like, I'm not a war stan, like, all the technological advancements that came from war, like, helicopters, that shit's so lit. I don't want to say lit anymore, but I'm having a lit renaissance where I've accepted that I don't want to do it, but she's just back with a vengeance. As air speeds up, the pressure drops, so the faster moving air moving over the wing exerts less pressure on it than the slowing air moving under the wing. La-di-da-di-da, fluid dynamics, Bernoulli's principle. Lit. So there's a whole bunch of stuff about axes, principal axes, aircraft motions. Would love to talk about it. Ask me a question. Next question on the list, though, for She's Zooming Dude was about Miss Abby Lee Miller. If you don't know who Miss Abby Lee Miller is, what an interesting experience of life you must be having. Imagine not knowing what Dance Mums is. That's so crazy. Dance Mums has been such a crucial part of my life. Not even just in terms of watching it when I was in school, but in terms of my YouTube channel. Like, I've made 2 or 3. That wind gust sounded faster than 80 kilometers an hour. I think the weather lady has been lying to me. I made like 3 videos about Dance Mums or something, and they all did pretty well. So the people love Dance Mums, and I love Dance Mums. And Dance Mums is nothing without Abby Lee Miller. So let's talk about Abby Lee Miller and why she went to jail. The show prompted a judge to look further into financial statements. I honestly don't understand money. Don't tell anyone that. Don't tell the tax man. Actually, tell the tax man. Get him to help me. Tax man, help me. I don't understand money. Like, where was tax in my high school learnings? Nowhere to be seen. And now it's a problem that I need to deal with. Oh, God. We'll talk more about that later. So, Abby Lee Miller, she's gone through a lot, by the way. That woman is a powerhouse. All power to her, but she did go to jail. At the end of the day, she went to jail. So, she was in jail for financial fraud. 20 counts of financial fraud. How insane is that? Like, Abby Lee Miller had 20 counts of financial fraud and she went to prison. She was in prisana. La prisano. She was there. Imagine being in prison and you see Abby Lee Miller and you're like, wait, why are you here? But at the same time, let's learn a number. I'm sure she would have good choreography to a Nicki Minaj song if we tried. There could be 3 people in the prison, me, Abby Lee, and someone else. I don't know why I'm in the same prison as Abby Lee. But let's say that we are. It's me, Abby Lee, and a guard. We're in high security. And the guard is a dancer. And she wants to dance, but she doesn't know what dance moves. And then I say, I can sing a Nicki Minaj song a cappella. So why don't I do that? And I do the backing track. And they're like, fantastic. I knew there was a reason why we charged you for tax fraud. So then Abby Lee choreographs the dance. Also, someone has a camera. And we record it, and it goes viral on YouTube. Okay, question. if you have a YouTube channel and you secretly upload videos from prison and the videos do really well, can you still earn money? Like, consider that for a second. Could you make money whilst being in jail? Actually, no, that wouldn't work because there's something wrong there. How did you manage to upload the content? The shit don't be adding up, though. What were we talking about? Abilene Miller did financial fraud. So the backstory is, in 2010, she owed $400,000 in real estate taxes. Real estate is another one of those things where I'm like, what is everyone doing? Every time I see someone from high school buying a house with their fiance and their 17 children, I'm like, we are so different and we're on different paths of life. Like, that is just insanity to me. Like, how crazy, how different things can be, even though we were the same at some point in time. What are we talking about? Abilene Miller's real estate taxes. Yada, yada, yada. She filed bankruptcy because whatever Chapter 11 bankruptcy is, I don't understand American shit. So she owed the real estate taxes, filed for bankruptcy, and then apparently she was making a lot of money. And the IRS and the FBI investigated Abilene Miller. They were like, think, 1, 2, 3, did the Nicki Minaj blink? She has a hidden $775,000 that she was withholding from us. Give me all your money and give me all your residuals. And apparently she did a tour in Australia and she got $120,000 and she got her friends to divide it so that she wouldn't have to pay or like have to deal with the customs and immigration requirement to declare any cash over $10,000, right? So all of that together means that she had 20 counts of financial and customs fraud. So she was in jail for 10 months. I think the sentence was like a year or something. And then she was let out early because of health complications. Which actually, the timeline for that must have been under a year before the She's ZOOMIN dude, because she's in the mobility chair in that season, which is the season of the comeback. So she was ordered to pay fines of $40,000 and $120,000, and her sentence started in July 2017, and then it was cut 10 months in because of health complications. She had spinal cancer, which is insane, and she had several rounds of chemotherapy. And then I remember all her Instagram posts, she was still super positive. Like, she's such a strong woman, even though she went to jail. I mean, you can still go to jail and be a strong woman. Those things are not mutually exclusive. Let's talk about flies and cars. So, my cousin rang my dad because they were talking about something. And then my dad was like, can you explain to your cousin what happens when someone jumps on a train compared to when someone jumps in a train? And I was talking about frames of reference, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And then while trying to explain that, I used the fly in the car as an example. Because what happens when a fly flies in a car? She flying, right? She's zooming. If your car's moving at 100 kilometers per hour, I'm not going to do everything in miles per hour. Americans, enough is focused around America that I'm not going to do my fly analogy around America. And that's that on that. If you're driving at 100 kilometers per hour in your new Tesla Model 3, I'm jealous, first of all, and there's a fly inside the vehicle, and the fly is flying, right? Flies from the back seat to the front seat. Is the fly flying at 100 kilometers per hour? Dun, 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 dun. That's the thinking music, and your time's up. You didn't answer, so you get 0 points for the question. It depends on the frame of reference. So if you're in the car and you're driving, from your frame of reference of you sitting in the chair looking at the fly is not moving at 100 kilometers per hour. The fly is moving, but she ain't moving that fast. Somebody come get her. She's acting like a stripper. What a good song. Such a good song. But then from, let's say, your friend Kathy from the Candy Apples dance studio, she's on the side of the road, just standing there, just chilling. She's waiting for a ride. But not everyone's like, they watched the episode where she did some shady shit and they're not giving her a ride. But they should. She was just edited to be the villain. Every show needs a villain, right? So then she's standing there and you zoom past in your Tesla, which is white, by the way. Actually, maybe the red one, but the red one's $1,200 more expensive. So you go past and she sees you and she sees the fly because she has excellent eyes. From her perspective, you are traveling at 100 kilometers per hour because your frame of reference is traveling at 100 kilometers per hour. So frames of reference are one of the key things to understand for motion and momentum and all that kind of stuff. Because from Kathy's perspective, you're going past at 100 kilometers per hour. From your perspective, the fly is moving at whatever meters per second, right? It's not that fast. But then if we have an alien friend on Mars watching Earth, Earth is fucking zooming, right? We are rotating, we are zooming around the sun. Like, I think people just seem to forget that everything is constantly moving. Like, we are hurtling through space right now. We're so fast, right? It's kind of iconic. Kind of like just the absolute coolest shit in the world. But we just don't know because we can't see it. And it's hard to discuss things that we can't see or experience, right? You don't know that you're moving, or you might know that you're moving on Earth, but you just forget it because it's not crucial to what you're doing at that time, right? That's such a roundabout way of saying people just don't care, right? So in summary, we are all moving more than 100 kilometers per hour at any one point in time. Even if you're laying in bed, you are moving faster than 100 kilometers per hour from a point of reference of Mars or from the sun. But then if you change the frame of reference, then the answer changes. It's not just cut and dry. The difference between the fly flying inside the car at 100 kilometers per hour and then outside the car is external effects. So your windscreen, she screens the wind, right? It's in the name. If you didn't have a windscreen, right, you'd have 100 kilometers per hour worth of wind coming at you. Even if there's no wind, that's air resistance, that's drag, because you have, just say, a block of air and you drive into that block of air, it's got to go somewhere. Like, you're going through it, so it's going against you. There's an equal and opposite reaction. So when I was saying before about planes having to be aerodynamic and paper planes and all that, it's the same with cars. You'll see that cars don't have flat windscreens. Sometimes they do. It's a stylistic choice. But let's say sports cars, you won't see a sports car with a flat windscreen. It's because it's angled as much as possible to give you the least air resistance so you can go faster. But if you took the windscreen out and the fly was trying to fly with the car, it just is not going to happen because it just can't deal with that air resistance. When the windscreen's up, there's no air resistance. It's dealing with the frame of reference of the car. It can fly, do its little thing. The fact that flies can fly in general is pretty crazy. Like, their weight to their wing ratio, just the structure of their bodies and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty insane that they can fly. Insects are actually really cool. There's so much cool stuff that I wish I could know more about, and that's the whole point of this podcast. We're gonna learn more, and we are learning. Congratulations to us for learning. I think that kind of explains some of it. I probably brought up a whole bunch more questions, but that's fine. So the last proper question is, how does the YouTube algorithm work, and what's the tea with deep neural networks? So the YouTube algorithm, it's like this mythical creature, right? If a video does well, say that it's because the creator got lucky with the YouTube algorithm. It's never because the creator did a good video. No, that can't be the case. It's because the algorithm did it. Then, if a video does bad, then the creator will blame the YouTube algorithm. But then that's not always the case. It goes both ways. So my understanding of the YouTube algorithm, because it's not just out there, they don't just publicly give you the YouTube algorithm because a competitor would just take it and then do something better, right? So you can find little hints and clues everywhere. And from my perspective and my understanding, why am I being so roundabout and on the fence about this? I'm like, I don't want to be cancelled by saying the wrong thing. Don't cancel me, YouTube. Don't take away my YouTuber license, please. Oh, I just spat on my screen. That's disgusting. Disgusting! My understanding of the YouTube algorithm is that the video is served to X amount of people, right? So let's say you have 100 subscribers and 10 of those people click on the notification and watch the video. Depending how long those people watch the video for and how they interact with it will determine what happens next. So if all 10 of those people enjoyed the video, watched the entire thing, liked it, and maybe left a comment, then the algorithm is going to see that as a whole bunch of positives for keeping people watching and on the platform. Because at the end of the day, what YouTube wants to do is keep people on the platform watching content, watching ads, because YouTube makes money from me making money, right? If I make, let's say, $100 on a video, YouTube has $55 of that. Sorry, no. YouTube has $45 of that. I have $55 of that. So they want people to watch ads. They want people to be on the platform for longer. They give special types of ads for videos that are longer than 10 minutes, which is why you'll see a lot of videos around the 10-minute mark. So that's group one, that 10 people. Then they'll serve it to 100 people and see how those 100 people react. And those 100 people won't all be subscribers. There'll be some subscribers, some non-subscribers. And how the non-subscribers react to the content is especially interesting because if they react positively to it, then it'll be served to more non-subscribers. And I imagine that this works in cycles because, again, from my experience, sometimes videos do well from the start, but then other times videos will do well months after, and it seems to be like a specific time period that things start to be served again. Just even last week, one of my videos from 2019, at the start of the year, started getting views. And even when I did my Claire from the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen video, also that wind gust was more than 90 kilometers per hour. Are we hitting triple digits? Oh my God, it's the fly. She's flying at 100 kilometers per hour. You go, girl. Give us nothing. Actually, no, she's giving us everything. It must be so stressful being a fly. I would sweat so much. Do flies sweat? That would suck. Pick a struggle. Oh, God. YouTube algorithm. So, yeah, when my Riverdale video and my Claire Bon Appetit Test Kitchen video popped off, that was just out of nowhere and they were so late, right? But what happened was it served it to a bunch of people. They responded positively to it. Then it just kept snowballing. So if you make YouTube videos and it's not immediately just popping off, then it's not a bad thing, right? It could happen later. So don't delete them or anything like that. So I have a paper here from 2016 called Deep Neural Networks for YouTube Recommendations. And I'll put a link to it in the description of the YouTube video for this episode of the podcast. But this is really, really interesting. It's from 2016 and they go into some detail about YouTube recommendations, but at the same time, they're not going to give you every single answer because it's published by Google and Google's not going to be like, here are our secrets, take it. But it gives you an insight into the most important parts and the equations and stuff. So let's go through this introduction. YouTube is the world's largest platform. English. Recommending YouTube videos is extremely challenging from three major perspectives: scale, freshness, and noise. So scale is many existing recommendation algorithms proven to work on small problems fail to operate on the scale of YouTube. YouTube is fucking enormous. Then freshness is YouTube has a very dynamic corpus with many hours of video uploaded every second. So it has to deal with that, balancing new content with well-established videos. That's an interesting point, actually, because that ties back to the point I was saying where a new video can do fantastic and an old video can do fantastic, and those two things can happen at the same time, right? Then noise is historical user behavior on YouTube is inherently difficult to predict due to the sparsity and a variety of unobservable external factors. So person A and person B have different interests, different watch histories, different subscriptions, and that will impact what they want to watch and what the YouTube algorithm will recommend to them. At the end of the day, the YouTube algorithm is just recommendations. Like it boils down to how the recommendations work. This paper is actually quite technical, but there's a really good figure here, which I'll put on the screen for the video podcast. But you have the video corpus, so the backlog, let's say, and you have millions of videos in there. Then you have the candidate generation. So let's say that's the first pass of taking those millions of videos, applying some filter, then getting hundreds of videos, ranking those videos for the perspective of the user, right? And then different kind of things go into that. You can have user history and context going to the ranking. So I love watching, let's say, Emma Chamberlain videos. So I like those relatable vlog type of videos, or I like fashion videos because I watch Best Dressed. So they're going to recommend me that channel called The Lineup because of my user history. Then there's also video features, so things that come from that specific video, and then other candidate sources, which is well described in this article, yada, yada, yada. And there's a bunch of equations, which are actually really interesting as well. And then this chart here, I'll try and describe it again for the audio podcast. It seems to be a corrective algorithm, right? And that ties back to what I was saying about depends on how people respond to it. Like if the algorithm serves something to some people and they all respond positively, it might be a sampling issue or an example of bias or whatever. So then it'll keep correcting and then re-serving it out and working out what people want to watch. I guess the summary for that topic is give it a Google. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. That wind, I know we're pushing triple digits. This is going to sound so trash. But see, if we just envisage that I'm in my sea shack, then everything's a little bit just fun and classy. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is a segue into the next topic. Because a lot of people messaged me and they were like, love the science side and all that kind of stuff and the pop culture side, but I want to hear more about your experiences with uni and that kind of stuff. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to say the next podcast episode I'd love to make about wireless stuff. So anything to do with wireless stuff, right? One of the questions is, how does Wi-Fi work? I'm sure there's something to do with phones in pop culture, so I'll find something to do with that. Maybe flip phones, or how much flip phones dominated, blah, 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 blah. Or how marketing with flip phones was such an important part of 2000 and whatever, right? I have a funny story about wireless technology from uni. So back in the days when I had a car, I used to drive to uni because where I am now at my house in Perth, it's not close to the university I went to at all. It's actually quite far. And if I caught public transport, it would take me an hour and 45 minutes to get to uni and then an hour and 45 to get back, which sucked, let me tell you, because I would have classes at 8 a.m. So I would have to leave home at 6 a.m. And then that, oh God, first year was so bad. I started at 8 and I finished at 6. So I would leave at 6 and get home at 8. It was just a disaster, right? So then when I could drive, I started driving to uni. And the car that I had was a good car, except there were so many issues with the wireless remote. It was like the first generation of cars where they thought it'd be cool and fun and fresh to be wireless. And everyone's like, oh my God, your car is wireless. Yes, push button start. That's so exciting. Yeah, until it stops working. So sometimes the remote would not connect to the car and I couldn't unlock the car. And it had a manual key that I could plug in and turn the door and get in and put it into this little socket thing. But even if you do that, if the car can't recognize the keys, she just won't start. And then it'll just blare the siren, right? The amount of times where I'd be walking through the car park and then I'm like trying to press the thing and it's not responding and I'm like, oh God, here we go again. And then I get in and I try and do it and it starts blaring and then I have a little meltdown. One time I was studying really, really late. I think it was probably... Okay, why are the walls literally shaking? Can we get some chill in the chat, please? Ugh. Anyway, flop weather. It was really late, and I was studying probably fucking fluid mechanics or something. And it was like 11 p.m. And I was walking to the car park, and the car park was almost dead. And the engineering building was 24 hours, and it smelled really bad. So I was like parked near that, and the car wasn't responding. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck are we going to do? Then my phone wasn't working, and the siren was just like, burn, burn, burn. And then after a couple of minutes, it gets really, really loud, and it's like, bah, bah. It's so loud. Oh God, I'm getting flashbacks. Ugh. We had to call RAC, which is like the roadside assistance thing, to come and help. But then they couldn't get the car to work, so then I think my mum had to drive up to Perth to pick me up from uni at midnight to take me home. What a disaster, honestly. So yeah, wireless technology, fantastic until it doesn't work. That's the quote of the day. So if you have any questions about Wi-Fi, phones, blah, 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 blah. Actually, let's just make it phones. If you have any questions about phones or like connectivity or whatever, let me know. 5G, woo, spooky curse word, can't say that. That's all I wanted to say about She's Zooming Dude. This was long. This is going to be like 45, 50 minutes. Sorry for rambling. If it's too long, let me know. I am happy to cut it back to 30 minutes if that's what you guys want. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 2 of Jumping in an Elevator. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel for the podcast, make sure you go and do that. If you would like to, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or I don't think you can leave reviews on Spotify. And if people want Google Podcasts, I can sort it out. I just have to pay for it. So I really want to know if people want it before I pay for it. But maybe I can use it as a tax expense. Ooh, spicy. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.